Hello, I just wanted to quickly let you know that I filmed this video a very long time ago and I never published it. So this is past Bianca letting you know about my April wrap up. And I'm really sorry it's late, but I figured better late than never. So yeah, enjoy. Hi, welcome or welcome back to my book sanctuary. I'm Bianca and I have my April wrap up for you, and I'm really sorry it's late. I did end up listening to quite a few audiobooks, so I think that helped while I was packing and stuff like that. And I read a series pretty much in a day and a half, I think. But the first book I ended up reading in the month was War by Chantel Finado, and I really love Chantel's writing. I've read it before. I love her Wind Dragons series. But this one is The Serpents of Chaos, MC. And War is the VP of the club. And basically he has this one night stand. He's extremely attracted to Aura, I believe her name is. But it turns out that Aura is the club president's daughter that, no one really knew about. And that makes it a little complicated. And he's really possessive. And yeah, I don't want to tell you much more. It's just a quick, fun MC, really. And you did get to see a character from the Wind Dragons series, which was kind of cool as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. Then I ended up reading Silent Desire. Mina doesn't speak because of past trauma. And basically, she has been sort of this captive in the basement for many years, and she's now sort of at school, pretending to be a teenager, but isn't really a teenager. And she starts getting really attracted to these teachers and counselors and other men in her life suddenly. And yeah, I enjoyed this to some degree. A little bit of it was a bit annoying. It's like a why choose situation, so she has many partners, and something about it I didn't really connect with. I think it was okay though, and I would have went on to the second book, but I don't really like cliffhangers, so sometimes they can do the opposite effect to me and make me not want to read the next book. I don't know, I didn't mind it, but it wasn't the best thing I've ever read. So then I ended up reading The Wrong Bride, and with The Wrong Bride, I picked this up on a whim for shits and giggles at the shop. I thought it looked okay, and I didn't mind this one. Aries is this like millionaire business media mogul dude whose grandmother sort of has decided who everybody is going to marry, all his siblings. I think he's got like 6 or something. So Aries is going to marry Raven's older sister. They've had a relationship for years. Even though the grandmother kind of wanted Raven to be Aries's wife, eventually Aries was like, nah, I want this other sister. And they've been together for years, but they haven't got married yet because the sister keeps, delaying things and is an actress and very narcissistic. And then Raven is kind of put in this really bad position and is forced to marry Aries because the sister bails on her responsibilities and her love for Aries, and I don't know, she was just odd. And so Aries and Raven are now married, and they've always been really good friends, and they've always had this bit of a bond going on between them. So it's them sort of navigating their friendship turn to lovers, and the sister who, is not happy with the situation. And the pair of them sort of decide they need to make the best of the situation. They're going to be man and wife. And so I really enjoyed this in a lot of ways. It was very intriguing, and the way it ended was intriguing, and just the siblings, and the sister was a piece of work. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I really was surprised, actually. Then I ended up reading The High Priestess, which I was waiting for the release date of this one. So when it came out, I was really excited, and I pretty much read it on the first day it came out, and I binged it completely. So I can't remember her name, surprise, surprise, because I can't remember anybody's name. Sometimes I can't even remember my own name, but basically she's like the heir to the Greek mafia, and they have this alliance with some other crime guys. And basically her life is put in danger, and her father is the head of the Greek mafia and sort of makes a couple of missteps and puts the whole family in danger. And so it's her dealing with the trauma of everything that just happened, and she's saved by this assassin dude who attaches himself to her and won't leave her alone. Will protect her throughout this whole traumatic experience and help her move forward with taking over the Greek mafia and becoming who she's always meant to become. Though, she does struggle with the balance of, mafia queen and then who she actually is as a person and the trauma that she just experienced with everything. So I really enjoyed this, like a lot. I really do enjoy Michelle Hurd's writing. She was meant to go to Rare, but because of reasons, she's not going to the book signing event. I'm a little bit disappointed, but it is what it is. I enjoyed this a lot. So I also ended up reading Swan by Lila Rose. So this is another one of the Motorcycle Club books. And she's like the princess of the Hawks MC, and Swan's always been very quiet and reserved and shy, and she has this crush on this previous neighbour she used to know, who now is a rock star. Anyway, he comes back into her life, but something happens there, and I can't remember his name though, but look, it's an emotional book. I quite enjoyed this. It was very sad, and Swan had a lot to go through and a lot to overcome. And I just loved seeing the whole Hawks MC again, and Wolf and Ruin were fun, as always. I love those two. And yeah, I just enjoyed this book, really, at the end of the day. I love coming back into the Hawks MC. But I also read Pack Darling, Part 2, because why not? It was a reread. I've read it before many times, and for whatever reason I decided to pick up the second book, not the first book. I think I've read the first book a lot more than the second book. I'm not really sure, but I picked it up and I ended up reading it again. Don't want to tell you too much, but basically Lila is an Omega who's been through a lot of stuff in book 1 and now is trying to conclude everything in book 2, I guess. I won't tell you much about this one. I have spoken about it a lot, but book 1 is probably where you need to start, definitely, part 1. And yeah, it's good. Trust me. Then I ended up reading The Devil's Den by Penny D. I really enjoyed this, actually. I picked it up because she's coming to Rare event in October in Melbourne. So there's this book signing romance event that I'm going to go to in October. And I was going through all the authors and all the interesting books that I want to read, and Penny D came up, and I thought, oh, I'll try The Devil's Den, and I was really surprised on how much I enjoyed this. I already pre-ordered the book from the signing event. So I'm definitely getting The Devil's Den from her. I think it's from her. Could have been a book vendor. Can't remember. But the point is I will own this at the end of the year. So with The Devil's Den, basically Bella and Nico have a past. They were childhood sweethearts, but something tore them apart, and a bit of miscommunication and trauma. Something happened in Nico's family that sort of put Nico on a path of revenge, and Bella, for her part, was really distraught and brokenhearted about everything that happened and didn't really understand the full picture. So time has passed, and now Nico needs a wife, and he's going to have Bella as his wife, and he sort of blackmails to get what he wants. And Bella's not impressed, but she still really loves him, but really hates him. And there's this whole enemies to lovers situation going on, and this mystery between what happened in the past with Nico's mother. Pardon me. And yeah, I really enjoyed this in a lot of ways. I bought the book, so I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, I enjoyed this. It was fun. So I also ended up reading the Sleet series on audiobook. So these are the books that I ended up reading in like a day and a half. I just put them on and binged the hell out of them. They were easy, quick, fun reads. Like, there was a bit of comedy to them. I thought they were pretty funny in spots. They had me giggling. My husband was like, what the hell is wrong with you? So once again, can't remember her name. But she's sneaking around this party and she's in the basement. So she's at this party and she ends up retreating to the basement to sort of have a moment to herself, where she finds the owner of the apartment having a moment to himself. And they end up sort of just spending the night watching Netflix, I think, and just enjoying each other's company. And there's a lot of miscommunication in the sense that it sort of leads to funny situations. Jackson. Yes, his name was Jackson, I'm pretty sure. And Jackson is this very famous hockey player, and she had no idea that he was as famous as he was. And he starts pursuing her and invites her to one of his hockey games where she meets his mother without sort of realizing it. And it's just this funny moment between the two of them, and there's lots of little funny moments. And he has this reputation for being a player, and they're just really cute together. But I really enjoyed this. It was just quick fun to listen to. So then I just very quickly moved on to onto the second book. So Sleet Sugar is the second book, and with this one, so she's the coach's daughter, and she doesn't have the best self-esteem, has a little bit of a bad past with hockey players. So it's like, I'm not dealing with them, not dating them, not doing athletes anymore. Fair enough. And she ends up sort of trying for a moment of confidence and goes to this bar and picks up this guy who she thinks is just going to come into town and leave, basically. They have an absolute wild time together. And then she quickly finds out a few days later, or, later, that he is a player for the team, and her dad's hockey team. And so now they're sort of forced to see each other every day. And again, this was very funny, and I really enjoyed moments of this. And yeah, she's the coach's daughter who didn't expect her one night stand to be a player on her father's team, and she's forced to see him every day, and it's just really cute. And you get to see all the other characters and the way they work together, which is great. The whole team is very funny. So I obviously moved on to Sleet Banshee, which is the third book. So I enjoyed this one as well. She is the best friend, I think, of one of the girls, I think the first girl, Kitten. They all have weird nicknames. So she obviously is called Banshee. And I can't remember his name, because of course I can't. Megan. I've remembered her name. So her name is Megan, and Megan basically, her and Sebastian have just always recently just been butting heads, and they've got like chemistry and sexual tension out of the charts. But he has a commitment issue. She ends up blaming herself for something that happened to her friend, which really wasn't her fault because she was busy having fun with Sebastian and not with her friend. So she blames herself and sort of pushes Sebastian away. Sebastian, for his part, has commitment issues, and it's a whole mess, but I still quite enjoyed this. Maybe not as much as the first two. These two did sort of annoy me in spots, but for the most part, I really enjoyed these guys as well. Adam is funny, and the rest of the characters are hilarious. So I also moved on to Sleep Princess. So I didn't mind this one. I think she's going to be team owner's daughter, I think. Anyway, she's a businesswoman, and basically her father wants her to step up and become, important in the company and show that she's a responsible businesswoman. And she goes to her cousin's wedding and meets Luke, and Luke's a player in the team, and they have an absolute hot time together, and there's sexual tension out the charts. And they actually stay in touch after their vacation in Mexico, and Luke eventually invites her to a hockey game, which she ends up going to, and they have a great night together, and then they end up accidentally somehow getting married, which was actually really ingenious the way it all happened, and I kind of really enjoyed it. It was fun. But yeah, they got married by mistake. So then it's them navigating everything that happened, and she makes some serious missteps, and so does he, and they kind of have a moment of, do they really like each other, or are they only pursuing this marriage because of business reasons to help her and him? And it's very complicated, and I really enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed her dynamic, and Luke was really interesting as well, and again, got to see all the characters. But yeah, I enjoyed this one as well. It was fun. And something has definitely happened to my ear, so I'm sorry if I sound funny. My ear has currently popped or something. I feel like I'm underwater. Anyway, I'm all over the place this morning, something different. But that's all the books that I ended up reading. It was about 11 books in April. And I will tell you, in May, I haven't read that much either. That was a cockatoo. We live in a new area with a lot of trees and a lot of wildlife, so you probably will hear a lot of cockatoos, rainbow lorikeets, noisy miners, all sorts of birds, kookaburras. There was a kookaburra on my clothesline this morning, just having a good old time, and then he was eating worms out of my garden and, dirt. I don't have a garden. But yeah. If you hear birds in the background, I am sorry about that, but I can't really help that. And that was all she wrote. That was all I've got to tell you about April's reading. And yeah, I hope to talk to you soon. And thanks so much for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.